Hey everybody, it's Kat, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Backstory Sessions. So, since it's February, Willie and I thought it would be a perfect time to bring a love story. Um, the kind with memories and moments, the kind that stick with you. So, today's guests, we have Gwen and Gary. And their story actually spans decades. Also, Willie, it is full of twists and turns,
Just
and
like one of your plays.
just like a play or a movie. It's like that kind of connection that I feel like it's just going to get better with age.
Like fine wine.
Yes, exactly. So everybody just get comfortable, grab some coffee, settle in. And, maybe you don't even need the coffee. You can just warm your heart with this incredible story of Gwen and Gary. So, Gwen and Gary, I want to welcome both of you to Backstory Sessions. We are so excited to hear your love story.
Thank you.
All right. So, let's go back to the question of um, how did you all first meet?
Well, I was a single divorced man, had two girls, and I worked at Chrysler Corporation and I was on management. And I had this employee that worked for me, and he kept coming to me knowing the type of person I was and the type of person that my future wife was. And he told me that he wanted me to come over to his work area and he would introduce me. And I told him no. I said, I don't date anybody in the plant. We had about 4,500 employees at Chrysler Corporation in Michigan, and about 1,200 of them were female. So my philosophy was I would not date anybody in the plant. But he was persistent and he kept coming to me and he said, yeah, but you got to meet her. She's different.
Just take a look.
Just come and take a look. So I said, all right. And so one day I went over to the area where she was working and I walked up to the press where Leon had told me where she was working. And I really liked what I saw. And um, it just kind of went from there. Leon introduced us and we got to talking. And then on some breaks and that way, we would sit together and talk. And
I was engaged to marry somebody else.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay, that is kind of a plot twist. So,
And he knew that. He knew that.
interesting. So, did
Yeah.
Leon just leave that part out, or did he tell you up front, like, she's already engaged, but, I think you'd still like her?
I don't know if he told you or not
What's that?
that I was engaged. He probably did. I think God intervened in all this, really, because
Yeah. I don't think he told me, but I later found out that she was going steady with this fella, and he worked in the plant also.
not at that
Wow.
time. Not at that time.
Well, maybe not at that time. Okay. So we just we would just spend some time together. We only dated twice. Once I picked her up and her daughter, and we went to the Verner's plant and took a tour. The second date, we went at night about 12 o'clock after her boyfriend left. I picked her up and we went to a piano bar.
Aw,
And that was the extent of our dating. And
wow.
at the time, I was working two jobs. Uh, One at Chrysler, I was management, and at night I'd drive about 20 miles, and I was a night manager of a farm dairy. So I wouldn't get off of that until about midnight. That was about the time her boyfriend would leave, and I'd go over to her place and spend a couple of hours and then go home and then have to get up at about 5 in the morning and go to work again. So, needless to say, I, I'm there after a while. I couldn't even feel my feet hitting the ground.
But he was persistent.
I would every day. I would make sure that I got a nice shiny apple, and I would either go to her apartment and put it on her car, or I would wait till she was at work
On break.
and break, and then I would put it on her press. And at
Aw.
that time, also, the Detroit News had these love is little things, and I would clip them out and put them with the apple. And
Aw.
we just did that, and then um, it she was kind of going back and forth between her boyfriend and me. She didn't really know what to do.
Well, I knew him for 2 years and I only knew Gary for a little over a month. So, yeah, it was difficult, but
So,
I
Gwen,
liked what I saw too.
well, I was gonna ask you, like, so we hear what he thought of you when you first saw him. Had Leon talked to you about it, about meeting Gary?
No, not at all. He just showed up in my department one day with the bosses when they would assign us our jobs. And when all those girls were standing there waiting for our jobs, uh, this tall, dark, handsome guy was standing there, and we all gasped for air because, oh, he was hot. He was hot, tall,
Oh,
dark, and handsome. And I thought, well, I had no idea he was there checking me out, but I found out later.
so when you found out, what were your thoughts?
Uh, well, I enjoyed talking to him. He got my phone number. He would call me once in a while, or really quite often. And he told me one day, he says, this was probably a couple of weeks into it. He said, I'm a one woman man. I got rid of my girlfriend. You have to get rid of him. And I said, you don't tell me what to do. And I hung up on him. And he called me right back and said, I'm sorry. He says, I love you. I've never told any other woman that but my ex-wife. And
Oh,
so then I forgave him. And we went on from there and just saw each other at work most of the time. And then he'd come over to my apartment when my boyfriend would leave. And I I guess one day I didn't show up for work. I had asked my boss, my boyfriend was pestering me in a hurry to get married out. He asked several times, and I just said, no, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready. And I told him that I was seeing somebody else. And then he really got persistent. And I told him I was seeing somebody else. And so it was just back and forth, back and forth. I was a nervous wreck. And so Gary came over one night and I says, I'm going to have to, just, I'm going to marry this other guy. And he said, well, I see what it's doing to you. So I'll bow out. He said, I know it's really bothering you. And so he left. And the next morning he knocked on my door before I went to work. And he said, I'm not leaving without you. We're going to go get married today. So that.
That was the start of it. And I
wow.
told him pack your bags because you're not staying here because he's going to be coming back. So we went out to my place and spent the night and then left. Well, I had previously bought her a birthday gift, a jacket for her birthday. Well, being on management, we only got paid every 2 weeks. And it was nearing payday, so I didn't have a whole lot of money left. So she said, well, why don't we take the jacket back and we can use the money to put it to good use, which was to go get married. And so we did. And I needed to get a blood test. So
I already have one.
she already had one.
Brilliant, yeah.
And I took him to my doctor.
Yeah, he took me to her doctor, and I told him I need a blood test. He said, "What for?" I said, "I'm getting married. I want to get married." He said, "Who are you marrying?" I said, "Her." He said, "No, she's marrying this other guy." I said, "No, she's marrying me. I need a blood test." So I said, "I want to get married today." He said, "You have to wait 3 days." I said, "What for?" He said, well, that's to check to make sure you don't have any venereal diseases. I said, I don't have any of that. and I'm not waiting. So he said, okay, and signed the papers. So we were off and running. We were in Michigan, didn't know where we could get married that day. So we started heading south on 75. We stopped in Ohio,
Kentucky,
uh,
several places.
places in Ohio, and then we went into Kentucky, and we got
In Corbin.
well, we got in Kentucky, and they said yes, you can get married today in Jellicoe, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So we headed to Jellicoe, Tennessee. When I pulled in there, this big old burly sheriff was out on the street talking with some fellas. And I asked him, I said, can I park here? He said, yeah, you can park there. And I said, no, really, because I don't know, So he said, sure. So I went in and I got asked where to get the marriage license. He told me. We got that. Then I came out and I asked him, I said, I need to get a wedding ring. Where do I get one? Where's the jewelry store? He said, Rexall Drugs.
Yep.
I said, no, I need a wedding ring. He said, Rexall Drugs. So we went into Rexall Drugs and got these keepsake rings. And we asked where we could get married. And we got married in the first church that
The Methodist Church.
Methodist church there in Jellicoe. And the preacher was out there and he said, yeah, I can marry you today. He said, you go tell Ma that I'm going to marry you, and you go in one room and change, and you go in the other room and change, and I'll meet you over in the church. I said, well, don't we need a witness? He said, oh, Ma will be the witness. I said, oh, okay. So we got changed, went over to the church. When we opened the door, there was Ma at the organ playing Here Comes the Bride.
And I was so nervous, and the day was long, and I got the giggles, and I think I giggled through the whole ceremony because I don't remember a word that was said. He wrote me a beautiful poem, and he read it, but I still cannot tell you what it said because I just had the nervous giggles. It was getting late in the day, and I hardly remember anything that was said, but just got tickled with her playing that organ, Here Comes the Bride. And
then they took pictures.
Yeah, they took pictures
out on the steps.
Yep.
And then we went up to the DuPont Lodge
in
Cumberland Falls. And got a room. Well, didn't have a whole lot of money, so we got kind of the
cheapest
midnight special.
Well,
It was at the end of the hall, and it was the smallest room you have ever seen. When if you got out of bed, you were in the bathroom
at one end.
at one
of the
end,
bed.
and
If you got out on the side of the bed, 2 steps, you'd be in the hallway. That's how small it was.
very
Wow.
small.
Shoved up against the wall.
But that didn't bother us. And then we were hungry. So I called the front desk and I said, we're hungry. I'd like to order some food. He said, well, the restaurant's closed. I said, oh, man. I said, we've been driving all day. We haven't had anything to eat. I don't know what we're going to do. He said, I'll tell you what. Because I told him we just got married. He said, I'll get a hold of the chef and I'll have him make you some hamburgers. So they made the hamburgers, delivered them to the room, and I had packed a bottle of wine in my suitcase
And a candle.
and a candle.
Aw.
So we sat.
And I didn't know he did that.
So we sat in the middle of the bed, lit the candle, drank some wine, had our hamburgers. So after that, then naturally the years went by, and our 25th wedding anniversary came up. So I called the same preacher in the same hotel, and the preacher remarried us, and we took our daughter and her husband and my 2 grandkids with us, and we got an executive cottage at the DuPont Lodge
Right, Cumberland Falls.
at Cumberland Falls, DuPont Lodge.
Was
And
Ma still there to play the organ?
yeah,
Yep.
she was still there. The preacher was there, everything. Nothing changed. And then the good thing about the 25th is at the lot of where we stayed, one end of it was a suite on itself, and the other end was a suite. So we kind of stayed separated. And
That was at the lodge, not
and
at
that
the
was
lodge,
at the
not the lodge. It was at the cottages.
yeah, that we rented a cottage, and so time went on again, and it come up going on our 50th wedding anniversary. So I called, and unfortunately, it was during this pandemic. So
Church was closed.
the church was closed.
No.
And I said, oh man, what am I going to do? So I kept calling and got different people. And I finally got a hold of this fellow in Tennessee. And he said, yeah, we're going to reopen the church and I can marry you. I said, when are you opening it? Well, it was after April 21st. And I said, no, it's got to be on the 21st. He said, I can't do that. I said, oh, Lord. I thanked him. And then I started to get a little bit worried. And I started looking around and calling. And I found this place in
Pigeon
Forge, Tennessee. And they had
wedding chapels.
They had a wedding chapel there called the Little Chapel of Love.
Aw.
So we spent the night there, and of course, prior to that, I had made reservations with the minister who was going to marry us or renew our vows. And so we just walked out of the hotel, and it was probably 40 yards away, and a Little Chapel of Love was there. And we went in there, and it was the most beautiful little chapel. And they had bouquets of flowers on the wall. Fake, of course.
Fake, and you can pick out which one
And
you
you
wanted.
got to pick out what you wanted. And he said,
And the
well,
photographer
and he was a
was sick.
photographer too. He was a minister and a photographer.
Yeah, but the photographer that was supposed to do it was sick or something and
Yeah,
couldn't do it, so he took the pictures.
yeah. He said, well, I got a package where we got about 50 photographs in the wedding. And we ended up getting what, about 200?
Yeah.
He just kept taking them. He said, let's go outside
Aw.
and get them. So he put them on a disc and we have those. And now that was our 50th. Now um, we are going to celebrate our 55th wedding anniversary on April 12th of this year.
Well,
So
In Vegas.
in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
oh wow.
Is
Yeah.
Elvis, are you going to Elvis, kind of deal there?
I don't remember that. I know they,
What?
I,
What was it?
no. We're not going to renew our vows. We're just going
No.
there for
Oh,
our
you're
anniversary.
just
For
going
our
there for,
anniversary. Yeah, I know
yeah.
what you're talking about. The Elvis chapels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like, well, you
Um,
might as well just, go through one of those too while you're like, you have such interesting, stories of your renewals. So, how old were you guys when you got married?
I think I was 28 and you were 3 years older than me. You were 31.
yeah.
So,
28, 31.
still babies, really.
Yep.
Did you think that you'd be together all these years later?
We never doubted we wouldn't be, but we, like any marriage, you have your ups and downs. The problem with these young folks today, the first time they get in an argument, they want to break up. And that's not what marriage is all about. You're going to have your bad days, but you're going to have more good days than bad. So we kind of stuck together through the bad days. And so I guess it just made us stronger, you know. Um, I'm
Well,
glad. I'm glad that I married her. I wouldn't want it any other way. Uh, when I leave this earth, I want to still be married to her, you know. So,
Aw.
that's very sweet.
I
Probably one
mean,
of the sweetest things I
when,
ever heard.
when
Yep.
I, when I, like I said earlier, when I first saw her, I said, "Man, I'll tell you what, she's a beautiful woman and a beautiful nature about her, and that's why I want to stay right where I'm at." So
So, what did you all have in common besides that you were thought each other were attractive? You know, what beyond that did you, as you got to know each other more, what stuck out?
Well, we love to do the same things. We love to travel, uh, eat out, be with friends, enjoy friends. It just, I don't know, it just we click in every way.
we enjoy friends, and
We enjoy each
we
other's
we
company.
had many, many friends, and we enjoyed their company as I'm sure they enjoyed ours. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been
Well,
invited back again. But
a lot of them have passed on too, and
yeah,
Yeah. Did you all have a song that was your song, kind of?
uh,
I can't remember.
trying to think.
I can't. I really can't remember that. That's a tough question.
Yeah. Well, some people have them, and some people
Well, I
just
think
love so many different songs.
one of them was "I Will Always Love You," but
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah.
um,
But that wasn't even out then.
no, but
Well, did you claim that one later? That's a good song.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. All right, Willie, this is a fascinating story. So I'm sure you have lots of questions, but what are you thinking?
Well, I guess did you hear from your former boyfriend?
I was just going to tell you that because he forgot to tell you, and he usually does.
She was your
I
mama
called my mother and let her know that we were getting married.
because she was setting
And
up for
she
the
was
wedding.
setting up tables and getting ready to prepare food for this wedding to
To
my
the-
fiance. And when we got back, he was waiting at my mother's, and he asked if he could speak to me for a minute, and I said yeah. And I went outside, and he said, uh, if he's ever not good to you, you let me know. And that was it.
Was it
I,
hard? Was it hard to tell him?
yes, yeah, I loved him too, but there was just some red flags that during our 2 years that came up, and I just
Oh,
and then Gary showed up just at the right time. I
Tell them about the red flag.
you started having doubts about him,
Well,
the
yeah, there
former.
were certain things that would happen, and I would just, he never cheated on me. It was, well, I'll tell you what it was. One day he said to me, he said, uh, when we get married, maybe you can let your ex-husband have custody of your daughter,
Mm.
and then we can pick her up every other weekend like I do my two children, and we'll be together. And then the rest of the time we'll have to ourselves. And it made me sick to my
Oh,
stomach. I I broke up with him, but he came back, said he was sorry, that he knew if I wasn't happy, if my daughter wasn't happy, I wouldn't be happy. So he said, I'll be good to your daughter. But it that just stayed with me, and it just Gary came along at the right time. I
Yeah.
loved him, but I just never got over that sick feeling that I had.
And the two dates that
That
we
would never happen.
And the two dates that we had, actually, the one date that she probably remembers the best is when I asked if she would like to go on a tour of the Verner's plant, and she took her daughter. Well, I hoisted her daughter up on my shoulders, and we just had a good time. And I fell in love with her daughter immediately, and I
mm.
think she pretty much fell in love with me too because we just we just had a great day.
She calls
And
him dad. She loves him, I think, as equally as she did her real dad. But
yeah,
uh, yep. But I didn't tell Gary that story until just a few years ago.
Yeah.
So
What was your mom's reaction?
my mom never got into any of her children's lives. She liked him, and she liked Gary because Gary would go over to her house while he was waiting for my boyfriend to go home, and he would go and have coffee with my mom in the mornings before she'd go to work and before he'd go to work. And she liked him. She liked both of them.
and I asked her if I could marry her daughter, and she said that yes,
If that's what
if
she
that's
wants.
what she wants.
Huh.
So, and her sisters were on my side, and I'd go over and play cards with them, and we'd talk about Gwen, and so they were rooting for me also.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, um, Willie, do you have another question? That one led to a lot of really great information.
Yeah, it did. So, do you think that God intervened and
Absolutely.
sent you, Gary?
Yes. You know, I feel that God has put us in the right place, the right time, everything, because it just seems like wherever we went, when we moved from Michigan to
Here.
Kentucky, because her mother had Alzheimer's, and she took care of my mother when she was sick. So I told her, I can't very well tell you I'm not going to be with you and take care of your mother. So we sold our home in Michigan and had no place to live except at her mother's. So we came down here to take care of her. And uh, we went from church to church. And as soon as we got into this one church, I knew I was at home. And that's where we've stayed all the time we've been here. So, and
25 years, going on 26 years.
you know,
Wow.
found the right piece of property, had a home built. So it just, and our neighbors are wonderful and the church people are great. So we are very blessed to have everybody there for us as we are there for them also.
Wow.
And it's a closer drive when we renew our vows.
Yeah. So when life does get rough or has gotten rough over the time that you've been together, um, how do you support each other rather than, I think, like Gary said, a problem is that people have a problem and then they just break up. So, how did you all work together to work through things?
Hmm. Well, it takes time for one thing.
I'm stubborn and I pout.
Yeah. And I know that. So I just leave her time to pout. And then I don't know, we just come back together. I mean, that's what love is. I mean, everything's not going to be all joyous.
Well, that's like the little love is a picture of it's like this cute little cartoon character girl, and each day there would be a different saying in the newspaper with that little love is this or love is that, whatever they said. And I still have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And every card he would give me one with a love is in it. So, and leaving little notes around, and
Would you
he's
say
he's
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 a
very romantic.
romantic
Yes, he is. He is very romantic.
and you like that, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes. What
Yeah.
woman doesn't?
Um, so of the two of you, um, who is the easier to get along with?
Me. And he laughs about it.
Well, yeah. So I'll have to say I concur.
Aw.
Yeah.
So
I,
Gwen,
I, I, you know, uh, I don't like, number one, I don't like fighting. I just, I don't know. Life is so much better when, when you
happy
don't
and
fight and you just work together and do things together. We enjoy doing things together, playing cards with our friends and all kinds of stuff.
so what is love like now versus what you thought it was, when you were late 20s, early 30s when you first got married?
It's stronger. It's a lot stronger for me because it took me a while to get over my ex, even though I loved Gary too, but the love was building between the two of us. But, I was in a relationship with him for 2 years and with Gary for 3 or 4 months. So it's.
For me, it was a no-brainer. My wife had divorced me to marry her boss, and so I didn't have anything that was holding me back as far as loving her entirely. I
Wow.
was ready. I was ready.
Gary, did you ever think like, you know, she's seeing somebody else, like did maybe I should just like not take a chance on this?
No, because prior to that, I was dating a couple different girls at the same time, and
Oh, get this.
then she
When we got married, one of them showed up at the door the next day, and he went to the door and told me I'm married, and that was the last of her. We've had a lot of things happen that we can look back and laugh about, but
yeah. Well, like I
Um,
said, I was a confirmed bachelor back then because I'd been burnt and I didn't think I'd ever get married. But then she came along and she was a different person, she was just different than the other gals that I had dated. You know, she was well grounded, beautiful. I mean, it was the whole package. And who wouldn't fall in love with that? So,
well, it sounds like you both made very wise decision there, because you seem very happy together. What do you still like about each other today?
what is that? I'm
what
sorry.
do you still like about being together today? Now,
That we're still together. You know, up through our ups and downs, why we're still here. We're still standing. We still love each other.
love
And
conquers all.
yes, it just, you know, it doesn't mean that you get old and been married for 55 years that you don't have your ups and downs. But you know, the ups are much more there than the downs are. And we just work through everything.
And he loves telling this story.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great story. I don't blame him for
I,
that.
I lose him in Costco and I'll find him talking to some woman telling her this story.
in Vegas too.
Oh, in Vegas too. In Vegas, anywhere he can get an audience, he loves telling this story.
Well, at
It's because
least they're not the, old girlfriends that are
No, no, no.
no, I, I I
that's
traded
really
all
funny.
them in for what I got. Yeah.
So when you're telling this story, what do people what do people feel about it when they hear the story of you?
I had a fellow while we were in Las Vegas, and he sat next to me, and
He was from
he
Canada.
was from Canada and said he had ties with this guy that makes movies or something. And we got to talking, and I told him my story. And he said, "You need to put that in writing and give it to me, and I'll see about getting it published." But I never did write it down or anything. But he liked what he heard, and like she said, I don't know. I just it makes me feel good to tell the story. And
Yeah.
And some people don't believe it because it's really sometimes it sounds a little unbelievable, but I'm right there to verify it.
yeah,
He's not
Well,
lying. He's telling the truth.
yeah.
it's an amazing story. I could see. Would you all like love if it were made into a movie or a book, something like that,
Or a play.
or a
Well,
play?
we're yeah, time's going faster and faster now. So yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
I think it would make a very compelling. It's definitely got the plot twist to it, and very
Hmm.
strong, funny characters. So, Gary, do you remember any of the poem that you wrote that she wasn't even aware of because she was so probably overwhelmed with everything, I would imagine.
We've got a copy of
I've
it,
got them. I should have dug them out. I wrote poems for her mother. Uh,
but the poem that you wrote for me, we've got all
yeah,
that. I
I
didn't
still
think we
have
get that
them.
out.
Um,
Aw.
Yeah.
So do you find it easy to be a romantic?
What's that?
Being a romantic, does that come easy for you? Like some men, are
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing too that uh he was so romantic, and I thought that he's phony. This is the line he uses on everybody, and I kind of was holding back a little bit until he took me over to his mother's and father's and introduced me, which he said he'd never taken anybody else over to meet his parents. And they were just as loving and nice as he was. And I thought, well, this is it. This is it. And they
Real
loved
fun.
my daughter. They fell in love with her right away too. She was only about 3.5, 4 years old when we met.
Oh,
So yeah, that just
In fact, when she went to school, she would always uh, tell the teacher and everybody her last name was Motz.
oh,
And, you know,
we went to parent teacher conferences, and the teacher said, I know that's okay, we don't care. She said that if she had went on the honeymoon, her name would be the same as ours too. She was just little and she was adorable. She still
yes.
is adorable. She's 60 years old now, and we just celebrated her birthday in December. She came down from Michigan to be with us and for a little while.
and
But
she's just as loving today
yeah,
as she was back then. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, you know. And I've always called her my daughter. I never, ever to anybody said this is my stepdaughter or whatever. She's always been my daughter. And she wanted from the day we got married to call me dad.
wait.
So yeah, it's been good. She's a wonderful person. I love her to death. So
Well, it
uh,
sounds like everything went so well. So I know Willie asked you about, God placing you. Do you think everything happens when it's supposed to?
I, yeah, I think it does.
yeah,
God works in his own time, but he's always been there for us.
All right, Willie, you get the last question here.
Well, I already know the answer to this, I'm sure, but if you all had it to do all over again, would you?
Yes,
yes, yeah,
absolutely.
yes, yes, yes. I love her. Always have, always will.
And me too.
So
Well, I did think of one more question. What is just an ordinary moment that you'll always treasure? Because there's a lot of ordinary moments and they don't usually get the big attention. So what's something that was just supposed to be ordinary, but it's special to you both?
mm, well, I know every night uh, before we go to sleep, whether it's been a good day or a bad day, I always tell her I love her.
Aw.
Mm,
I think she's asking something else.
what? Okay, what?
Well, I like that answer too. That's great.
What can we remember that was a special moment? Oh, for our 25th,
Mm,
I got a big diamond.
yes, she did.
He
Holy
keeps
cow.
telling me he's going to sell it and buy a car. I said, over my dead body. I get so many compliments on that ring. Even a woman in Lexington, Kentucky, stopped me, and she was married to a doctor, and she said that's the prettiest ring I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
Marquis cut. And
Yeah,
to celebrate the 25th anniversary, it was 2.5 carats.
It was a little over because you couldn't hit
Little over.
exactly. He could have went under or a little over, and I said, "We'll go a little over."
Well, that is
But
so
it is
sweet.
It's beautiful.
It
a
is.
Yeah.
beautiful ring. Yeah. Well, that was a very happy day for her.
Oh, it was happy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she asked. She asked.
Well, you got me. Um, when we got married, I had gone to this jeweler,
Same jewel.
same jeweler that we bought the ring from, and he had a ruby ring in there. It was a trapezoid cut ruby, very nice stone, and it was surrounded with diamonds, and it was all in trapezoid. And I told the owner there, Pat, that one day I wanted to buy that ring.
Yeah, that one day it's yours.
And so I kept going back, and every time I went back in, I said, Pat, show me the ring. I put it on. I said, Pat, I'm going to get this ring. I don't know when, but, and then one day I took my friend in because I wanted to show him the ring. And I said, Pat, let me see my ring. He said, Gary, it's gone. It's sold. I said, come on, man, Pat, don't joke with me. He said, I'm serious. It's gone. I like to cry. I
Aw.
left there and I went to probably 10 different jewelers trying to duplicate that
It's one of a
stone.
kind.
It was one of a kind and nobody could duplicate it. And I didn't know what I was going to do. So Christmas came and we had all opened our gifts,
I had a little ornament.
and Gwen had a
Ring ornament.
little ornament on top of the tree. And she said, you got one more gift. Well, I opened that up and I just cried.
Aw.
I cried my heart out because that was something that I had wanted for so long. So yeah,
So
that
Oh,
was
now we know who bought that ring.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But she had me scared to death. I thought, oh man, I lost my ring.
Well, the little
oh,
ornament was actually a little ring box, and the jeweler had put it in there for Christmas, and I hung it on the tree, and yeah, he bawled.
Oh man, I cried my heart out. I was so happy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I had lost it. So you would know if something happened to her, I would be even worse shape. But that's what love is. It's caring for one another and not letting
Through
anything
thick and
come
thin.
between us.
So you both have relationships that worked, this one, and ones that you've left behind. So, what advice do you have for people to know, you know, what to do if they find themselves like unsure about is this the one? Is there a feeling or how did you just know this is it?
You go with your heart.
And there's a feeling too, and you go with your heart. Definitely. It's
It was
uh,
just right.
just like when I first went over and saw her. I mean, I fell in love right then. I didn't even know her, you know.
Well, he had asked his employee. We had just met just a few days before we started our holiday break, and he said, "Ask her if I can buy her daughter a Christmas gift." And he asked me, and I said, "No, I don't know him. I don't know him well enough to let him buy my daughter a Christmas gift." But
Um,
but I really liked what I saw.
well, did Leon always brag and take the credit for this union?
No, he was kind of a humble man. He was a preacher
Yeah, he
also.
was a preacher at night, and he was one of my employees, and I could always trust him. When I sent him out on a job, to find something, he found it. And
He was a nice
he was
man.
always good to me. And I just knew he was a good man at heart. And when he said, I got somebody that you need to meet, I was hesitant to begin with, but then
He didn't tell me anything.
I trusted him. So I went and took a look. And that's all it took.
Just
So,
one look, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it was good. Uh, yeah.
well, Willie, this is a great way to kick off February. For all the
Yes, it
people
sure is.
looking for love out there, this gives you hope. And we hope everyone finds their Gwen or Gary. That would
Yes,
be
we
a
do.
great February.
Yes.
Well, we
Uh,
hope it's an inspiring story to other people to hear that they might be sitting on the fence and,
And stick with it.
just stick
Don't
with it.
don't run the first argument. They seem to think everything's going to be like it is at the movies, and it's not. There's going to be ups and downs, and they need to know that and work through them. And the more you work through the bad, the better the other end gets. So that's all I can tell them.
well, I think that is perfect. That's all that needs to be said. So I thank you both for being our guests today. This has been
Oh,
a
yes, thank
very,
you.
very inspiring episode and heartwarming for February. You renew
Well, we enjoyed
everyone's
it.
hope and love.
Well,
Yes.
this was an enjoyment for me to tell my story for the 50th time.
More than that. More than that.
To anybody who was
That's
willing to listen.
immortalized
Well,
in the podcast.
it just makes me feel good when I tell them the story because it's um, just something that you've always wanted in your life, to have somebody that you love and that they love you and they know that you're not going to run away, you know, when the times get tough. Oh,
Well, I have a feeling a lot of the listeners out there are going to become big fans of this story.
Yes.
That'd be nice.
yeah,
Yes.
maybe they can
Have a little
let
story.
you know that because of this story that maybe they got off the fence and did something.
There you go. And we can always hope that. And thank you both. And I hope that our paths cross again.
Thank
I
you.
do
Thank you.
too.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.